Alrighty, so we put on the consultation form on the website, but we started recording consultation Zoom sessions and training sessions. It's helped a lot with COVID because since it's all verbal instruction now, the biggest concern that people had was like, does the training work, right? Because I'm not working with the dog anymore. It's me coaching you through it, but the answer is yes. So then since it's a lot of verbal instruction, people forget stuff. So this way they always have something to refer to, okay? And if you have any problems, then I go, like let's say there's an issue with one of the commands or something, and I've had it before, I can simply send you somebody else's video and say like, here, you can refer to this. It's the exact same thing, so you have like an additional resource. Okay? Okay. Questions?
No. So today we're just kind of figure out what's going to be the best.
Correct. So you're gonna tell me about Moose, what you're looking to achieve, because I read your consultation form. It was pretty short. It was essentially recall for sure. Obedience, and then it said no aggression. So then
yeah, she lately, like, I don't know what happened, but she was boarded for a few days a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And when I got her back,
different
dog, and
sure.
So she comes to work with me every day,
sure.
And she knows everybody. And the past few days, she's been like, she hasn't bit anybody, but she's been barking in a way that I don't like and kind of jumping on some people, and
okay.
People are like, what the hell's going on with your dog?
Sure.
And she's a Doberman, so just.
How long was she boarded for?
Well, she was boarded for 7 days, and on day 5 they called me, and I think I don't know what happened, but she chewed into her paw. She had to go back to med vet. She was hospitalized for another 2 days, and then after that whole experience, she was just like a different dog. Now she's kind of back to normal, but still a little funny at work.
Okay.
And I don't like it. I can't have her as a liability at work. So.
Sure. Is it like an open space, or do you have an office that people come in and out of?
It's I have an office and a warehouse and a parking lot. So she's always kind of had like free reign of a lot running around, and she's good. Like, she's protective, like that's her domain. But she had never like done what she's been doing with people that she knows, which is jumping on them and making this somewhat aggressive sounding bark. And one of the guys, John, who she knows very well, plays with all the time, he was petting her the other day, and she like kind of grabbed him.
Okay.
With her mouth.
But then puncture, just like kind of mouth.
Not puncture, but yeah, definitely grabbed him, and it wasn't friendly.
This behavior here, has she always been like this, or is this because of like since you got her from boarding?
This like little squirrely right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's kind of always like that.
Okay. And then you said so she was supposed to be boarded for 7 days, 5 days in, she chewed into paw, went to med vet for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then you got her back.
Then I got her back.
Okay. And then how long ago was that?
Over 2 weeks ago. But then when I got her back, she's also very clingy with me. You know, she's in the bed. I don't want her in the bed. And
was she ever away from you before?
Not for that amount of time, no.
But she has.
Other than she was like hospitalized for 6 weeks when she fell off the roof.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. How old was she when she fell off the roof?
That was in August, so she was 6, 7 months.
Okay, 6, 7 months, and then she's 11 months now.
Yeah.
And then you leave for a week. And then when you got her back from those 6 weeks when she was hospitalized, like she was fine, you saw no behavior changes there. Okay. Was there any time where she was like boarded between that time as well, or no?
Yeah, once for like 2 days.
Okay.
She was fine. She was 2 nights I went away.
Same place?
Same place.
Same place? Okay.
And this is the same place that like kind of rehabbed her when she got out of the hospital.
Okay.
I don't know.
Sure. I'm just trying to figure
odd,
out.
Though. Yeah, it's just very odd. I know they are very like, because it's also a training academy, but I'm not going to work with them anymore. But they're very like, you know, the corrections are harsh and.
Okay. They're not in Grays Lake, are they?
No, they're here in the city.
Okay. There's a place in Grays Lake that I'm familiar with. I get a lot of their dogs.
Oh, okay.
But they're the old school Yankee crank.
Yeah.
It can also be just so 6 months in a year are when dogs make pivotal psychological shifts. So a lot of times when the owner tells me like, oh, my dog used to be dog friendly, but got attacked by a dog at the dog park, I'll say, at what age? 5, 6 months. Yep.
Yeah.
Because right then they're making a shift where they're kind of maturing. An attack happens and it's like traumatizing, and then next thing you know, the dog is no longer dog friendly, or they'll be friendly with anyone. And this is the interesting part, is usually it's anyone before the incident. So any dog, any person they met before the incident, fine. Anything after the incident, not trusted. Okay, with yours, it's a little bit different. Even it's people that she does know, but she is hitting a year, so it's possible that it's, you know, that 1 week and she was stressed, she chewed into her paw, and it's getting close to that year mark, because this is when dogs start to come into their own. So like,
yeah, that's not good if this is her own. She's like a different dog. I don't like it.
And so like dogs that don't bark at the front door, 6 months or a year is when I expect to start barking at the front door. You know, like people, oh, my puppy's great. They don't bark when people come over. I'm like, not yet. You know, just wait a little bit, right?
Okay.
So it's not out the ordinary. Okay. So that's why I'm trying to pick up like all these. I'm asking all these questions. I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. So she grew up like when I first got her as a puppy. We went. There's like an informal dog park a little bit further east, and she was great, like off leash, running. But then she fell, so we stopped going. But since then, she had been okay, and I would take her over here. She plays really well with other dogs, but it's the recall. Like I can't get her back.
Sure. Yeah, recall's the easy part.
Hour to get her
I'm
back.
not worried about the obedience. I'm just concerned about the behavior. Okay, because the behavior.
Because people are fearful anyway when they look at her, and then if she jumps or she makes that aggressive sounding bark, then I'm like, oh no.
And part of that is actually tied to this, the squirreliness, like how she's just all over the place. Right. So like every time something has come by, she's kind of like zoned in on it, and this is what I would call overstimulation. There's no kind of real, at least from what I see here, off switch, where she's able to just chill out, right? So like for instance, if I brought my dog here, I'm trying to see if there's an example. But like let's say I brought my dog here, like she'd be laying at my feet sleeping. She's just like, all right, we're not gonna move for a bit? Sure, I want to just chill out, because there's nothing to care about here, right? Now there's plenty of things that she could care about, but she doesn't, because her brain knows how to just turn off.
So I feel like this is a little new too, because now that you're saying that, I used to work out here with my trainer, and I would just tie her up to the tennis courts, and she'd just be happy as a clam and just sit there, like not even make a sound for an hour.
Exactly, right? And overstimulation is typically from a lack of boundaries. But I mean, I see with the prong, I see with the knee collar, so I would assume there are boundaries, right?
Except she's too strong for me. Like she pulls me on walks, even with this. Doesn't mean anything to her. That's why I want to get her started on this.
On the e-collar.
Yeah.
And how much does she weigh now?
Like 65.
65. And then you use that for your last Dobie?
I did. Yeah, she was trained pretty extensively when she was little.
Okay.
And then just kind of having it on was enough for her. That dog was amazing. I had her off leash in the city all the time.
Sure.
This dog's completely different.
Okay. Just one thing I'm going to point out is with the mini educator, it's meant for dogs 35 pounds and under. And we're okay to use it because you already have it. But if we come to a like a roadblock where it's like, yeah, it's not enough power, because with her overstimulation, like we would need enough power to snap her out of this, right? So like you said, with your prong collar, you can try to correct her, but you're not going to cut through. Super common, because her brain is too far gone that physical correction isn't enough to override. Now, e-collar can override, okay? But if she's a 60-pound dog with a 35-pound powered collar, it's possible that yes, she could be very sensitive to it and it'll work just fine. But there's also the possibility of like she's just too big, and it's not going to work. So what that would look like is like she could be staring at a squirrel. You could be at 100, and you'll see this happening, and she completely does not care. Okay, and I just saw that earlier today, about 2 hours ago, with another dog. Okay, so I see it all the time. So again, I'm not opposed to using it to start.
We will try it. See.
And then if we find you're having some trouble, I would recommend the collar for you. Go on Amazon. You can pick it up on Amazon. I use Dogtra. I used to use the Educator brand. They are a very good company. They have the best customer service in the world. However, their collars tend to fall short in my experience. I stopped using them like 10 years ago. But on occasion, I get a client who already has one. I'm like, all right, that's fine. We'll test it out. If it works, great. Great. Otherwise, if not, we'll just recommend you a collar, and you can go and purchase it on your own. Okay?
Sure.
So the way I would go about this, because I know, of course, the biggest issue is the reactivity and the aggression stuff, is you said when someone enters your room, she starts to, or whatever, she'll start to bark or run up to you and bark. Is that correct?
Well, there's a few different things that go on. So she's always had like a delivery man comes. It's a very deep, aggressive bark, which I don't mind. She's kind of like protecting the office. What's changed is the people that she knows or people that are already in the office, she's now like on occasion in the past few days she's jumped up on them and lets out like this yelp, almost like she's afraid of them, but then at the same time jumping at them, and I don't know what's going on.
Okay, and then you see mouthingness there?
Yeah.
When she jumps, is there a lot of jumping or just a singular jump? towards the person?
It's like a jump towards the person, but then she'll do it again if I don't get her fast enough.
Okay.
And these are people she knows.
And how do they respond?
Well, like the three guys are like, it's okay, Moose, what's going on? They're still trying to pet her, and
Sure.
I'm just trying to get her back.
And you said it's a high-pitched bark.
That is a high-pitched bark,
Okay.
yeah.
That sounds like overstimulation and frustration. Because you said with the delivery guy, deep guttural bark.
That's like, I'm going to fucking kill you if you come in this building, yeah.
Sure, and the other one is a high-pitched bark.
Yeah.
Right? So that can, can be anxiety. Because I see overstimulation here, I'm thinking overstimulation there. I'm also thinking frustration. And then the people respond with, Moose, hey, right? Now they're adding more energy to it, and now she's overloaded.
Yeah.
Okay? So what happens when a dog is overloaded with stress, and stress can be excitement, okay, is that it has to go somewhere. And the way dogs express things are through their mouths. They lick, they bark, they nip, they bite, they chew, they salivate, they pant, right? Everything is mouth-based. So to give you an example, I had a pit that I worked with years ago, and everybody labeled the dog as aggressive. So they call me up, I come to home, I have my big old suit on, and then I go straight for the dog. Dog just sat down for me and let me pet them, right? And they're like, what the, and I was like, I don't think your dog's aggressive. And very similar kind of like, I saw similar behaviors and stuff that they were explaining to me. I'm like, it sounds like your dog is overstimulated. And then when people come to pet your dog, it's overloaded, and the nip is the outlet, right? And then sure enough, we did some training that they didn't even target the behavior. We didn't correct the dog for trying to bite because I didn't think it was an aggressive dog. We just calmed the dog down. So then that fixed the problem.
So how do you calm the dog down?
Formal obedience, so I don't want to say obedience.
And she has no boundaries. I mean, you got me on that. Like, the dog's on my bed, she's on the couch. Like, she doesn't listen to me, and I've not been diligent because I want to rather start fresh and like tell me what to do, and I'll do it correctly and be consistent.
Sure.
But now it's a shit show.
Sure. So the sleeping on the bed, sleeping on the couch stuff, that walk in the door before you type of stuff, doesn't matter. Okay. It's the real structure is consequence. Okay. So if she did something to another dog and that dog didn't like it, that dog would simply bite her back,
right,
and say like, cut that out, you don't do that with me, right? The whole concept of like letting the dog sleep on the bed and sleep on the couch is perfectly fine as long as you have consequence for things, okay? My dogs do whatever, but I know I have complete control, right? If I decide get off the couch, it's you're off the couch.
That's what I want.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that just comes, that's partially training, but partially is consequence, okay? So the biggest problem that I see with people is that they give no boundaries, but there's also no consequence.
So is the consequence a zap?
The zap or your prong collar correction, technically.
Which doesn't work.
Right?
Okay.
And this is all stuff that we would kind of go over. So this squirreliness here, this, I wouldn't target this, okay? What I would do is we'd start off with the healing exercise, which is the walk on her side, right? Now my style of heel is very strict. If I take 5 steps, the dog takes 5 steps. When I stop, if I take 1 step, the dog takes 1 step. If I stop, they automatically sit. Completely slack leash. I don't care what the environment is. Okay, so you could be in the middle of a PetSmart, you can be in the middle of Oz Park in the summer, or it can be in this environment, and then boom, she's glued to your hip. That level of focus, the reason why that's so important is in order to focus to that degree, she has to tune out everything else, which ultimately teaches her how to turn off. Okay, how to just turn off the world so she can focus on you. Okay, and I don't want you to think it's the obedience that's fixing or helping address her issues.
Focus.
It's and you're close. It's the e-collar, it's the contraction, it's the discomfort, it's the consequence behind the stuff that actually helps her.
So then does the dog basically have that on 24/7 so they know like
Only when you
consequences
need it.
possible?
Only when you need it, right? So like, at work, when you're out with her walking and stuff, at home, it would be different, okay? Now, because I know you said she goes to work with you, it is possible that she can go back to not needing it, right? Because before you didn't have it on her, is that correct? Like in the office or whatever?
Well, she's never actually really used it.
Right. So there was no like any consequence or anything there, but she was okay.
She was good, yeah.
Since she spends most of her time there, you're more likely to go to not needing the collar in that setting, and same thing for inside the home. Okay, but outside, because you can't account for all the different things that we're going to come across, you're going to need it.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's like you said with your last dog, the presence of it, just she knew like, okay,
Yeah.
like, I have to behave
But
myself.
I do want to get to the point where like in my apartment, if she's on my bed and I want her off, If she doesn't get off, she knows there's a consequence for that.
Correct, yeah. So like in the beginning, when you're teaching that stuff, she'll have the collar on, but at some point I would expect you would advance past it, because there's no stimuli to argue with in the home, right? You're not having to worry about like all the dogs or the squirrels or the people walking by and all that stuff going on. It's just the house setting, okay? The only thing that would be kind of iffy in the office setting is because like you don't know when like Amazon or delivery or whatever is gonna come by. Is that's when you'd want the control, but like everybody else, technically, she should go back to like not having a problem with, okay? Because that's who she was at heart in the beginning, and then something happened, and now she's just shifting, okay? So it's easier for her to go back to what she was than it is for her to go back to something she wasn't, okay? So if like she never liked anybody, I would say we can't make it happen.
She loved everybody.
Yeah. So for me, it's like this is a dog who's just lost themselves.
Do you think it's because of the boarding or just
something? You know, it could have been the boarding, and then like because it went from you leaving, boarding, go to med vet, and then back home, right? And within the 1 week time span, I had around a year.
Yeah.
Okay. So all that I go, yeah, I could see this being impactful. Yeah. Okay. Don't worry about it. Don't beat yourself up over it. Shit like this happens all the time. Yeah.
I was just worried all of a sudden, oh shit, I have a really aggressive dog on my hands. What am I gonna do? It's a liability.
No, aggressive would be I couldn't even come this close to you. Okay. I've got dogs like that. Okay. So you at least have that. I think you have a overstimulated, frustrated dog. Okay, which is very different than an aggressive dog. An aggressive dog is they intend to do harm. Like if she wanted to, it would have been done. Okay.
That's kind of what I felt like. If she wanted to bite John, she would have bit him.
Yes. You know, whenever anybody tells me something like, oh yeah, I was like too quick, I'm like, nope. I'm like, that was the dog warning you. Like dogs are very good about depth perception and giving inhibition bites and all that stuff. I have a bite here from a Rottweiler, it's a 6-inch scar on the side of my stomach. And all I did was step into the owner about this distance, and the dog just went at me. Okay. So yeah, if they intend to, they will. Okay. So what's kind of going to dictate length of time and cost and all that stuff is simply how much you're trying to get done. So again, like all this stuff I expect to go away. This overstimulation, this frustration here, like you see how she keeps trying to chew on stuff? That's frustration. She's trying to like all this pent up, just like her brain and the inability to shut off is like she just has to do something. Kind of like a person who's just like always fiddling around and moving and stuff like that, like they have to be doing something. It's very similar, okay? And someone could look at this and say like, oh, this kind of looks like anxiety, but I don't pick up anxiety. I pick up overstimulation and frustration. And I've had like 8 of these cases over the course of the summer here. I met a lot of pups just like this with overstimulation issues. It's just really the lack of boundaries. Because you gotta remember, if she were to have grown up with her litter mates and her mom, they would be biting each other. Like, have you seen that video on the internet? It's like a golden retriever or a yellow lab with like the puppies in the room. And what happens is all of the puppies, they're like young.
She puts them back in
they all, she just like shuts them up.
Yeah, I
right?
have seen that.
You've seen that. Yeah. And I love that video because it just shows like if they disagree with like just the energy, they just shut it down. Yeah. But humans go like, oh, but it's a puppy. Right. And that's what puppies do. I'm like, no, that's what puppies do if you let them do it. But the mother, if she wants to, will correct the puppy, right? So like my puppies are quiet. My puppies aren't yipping and yapping in the kennel. And this is as young as 2 months because I correct them. I bite them, you know, and go, I disagree with these behaviors. And I let them be puppies when I choose that they can be puppies, right? So dogs are super strict. But humans, we tend to like excuse things and like let things go because they're young. But then over time, it creates issues like this because she's not getting what her, what her nature needs, which is just to be bit. Okay. Now you're a step above everybody else because you already have her fitted with the prong knee collar. Despite you haven't started it, you're already like in that mindset of like,
let's go.
This is what we need.
Yeah.
How is she with dogs?
She's typically very, very good. She just wants to play and she's good.
Just because there's an off-leash dog right now.
Yeah.
So the way I go about this is I kind of get a feel for what you're wanting and needing, and I'll give you some options, okay? And I'll give you like the bare bones option of like, this is what I know you need to fix your problem. And then there's longer programs if you want more control, okay? Because I don't, again, feel like you have an aggressive dog. I think this is a frustrated dog, and I just think there needs to be a bit more communication, some discipline. My thinking is that she will kind of go back to who she was before, to the people she knows. But there's also the possibility that she does not, but then I'll give you answers for that as well, okay? So there's always an answer, it just may not be the answer that you're looking for, okay? So first thing we got to cover here is heel. That's typically 2 classes, okay? And then we see what does that fix. And you might say, like after the first class or second class, like, hey Jesse, like man, just having her heel in a structured fashion has fixed like, you know, most of her barking at the office and like 70% of the problems, which is actually what heel does fix. It's usually about 70% of the issues. And I go, great, it's doing what I thought it was gonna do. What are you still seeing? Oh, she's still barking at the delivery guy. Okay, I would expect that. We have an exercise for that. What else? She still barks at John. How does John greet her? Oh, he's super excited. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
So we have to teach her how to respond to that energy, okay? Which is really, like, we can't make her like the energy, but we can teach her to just not react to it, okay? But then we also have to talk to, you know, for example, John. We say, hey, John, can you please not treat her like that? Because it sets her off, right? Because it's a controlled setting. And there's other options as well. Like, obviously, you can't tell that to everybody. At some point, someone's going to say, oh my God, look like you Dobie, right? But you'll have a means of stopping the behavior as well. So we see what does the heel fix. That's typically 2 classes. And then we see where we're at, okay? If everything's going great behaviorally, we just continue with the obedience stuff because the discipline is doing its job. It's fixing the problem. If it doesn't, you know, you would tell me. And then correcting the behavior is pretty simple. It's usually just a single class. Because once you understand how behavior works, it's pretty straightforward, okay? What ends up taking time is like, let's say someone tried to pet her, or people try to pet her, and you start to notice she's progressively, like always becoming defensive towards them. That's something that needs to be worked on specifically. Does that make sense? But if it's just, hey, don't bark or get yappy when people come over, it's very simple. So like growing up, I was raised old school, I was spanked. If I didn't do my homework, if I talked back to my mom, or if I did it to my chores, spank, spank, spank. And one consequence for a number of behaviors. Same thing for dogs. If she barks at a dog, if she nips at a dog, or if she mounts a dog, bite, bite, bite. To stop that behavior from happening, right? So once you understand how aversives and consequences work, I teach you, we go over it, we do some examples, and then you go, okay, and then you start applying, okay? So then, once you start disagreeing with things, then we start to see the shift in the other types of behaviors, like the barking at people when they come in and they're trying to jump at them or whatever, because now she's learning, oh crap, there's a consequence for these behaviors, right? Now stopping the behavior and getting her to like someone are 2 different things. So like right now, I had a class with a 80, 90 pound Roddy, he's king, and he's nervous at people. And anybody that tries to touch him, he'll lunge and bark at him. Okay, so obviously big boy, I'll fix that problem. Because I told the lady, you have a nervous dog. He's a big old rat, but he's nervous. And when people come in with that kind of energy, he's not gonna like it because he's nervous. I can't make him unnervous, but we can help him, teach him how to handle it better. So we did a bunch of structure first, and then she said, he was doing good, but then he was still having some issues with people came in out of nowhere. So I told him, like, well, you can't expect him to just allow any stranger to touch him. You have to step in and advocate for him. But I do also have an exercise that you can do that's controlled to help him learn, to help get him to learn to trust and like people, right? So then that's, I taught her how to stop the behavior, but then on the other side, I taught her how to work with him so that hopefully he will open up and actually be welcoming of people, right? But I can't guarantee that part because that's on the dog. If he's just like, I don't like random people touching me, I go, me neither, you know? But it's expected for whatever reason that dogs be touched by random strangers, okay? But I would give you 2 tools for that. Okay. So that's what I would prioritize, right? So that could take up to about, you know, heel is 2 classes, the behavior could be anywhere between 1 to 2 classes, depending on how she progresses. And then, so I have 6, 9, and 12 week programs. So if you did a 6-week program, we got those 4. And if you're like, hey, I feel really confident with what I've learned, can we work on recall now? Well, absolutely. And then we work on recall, which is 2 classes in itself, okay? So that's kind of like the bare bones of what you're needing. 2 classes on the heel to fix this problem and see what else does it fix. Potentially 2 classes on the behavior, 1 on stopping behavior, 2 on potentially leading the socializer more, and then 2 on the recall, okay? And then you have to do your homework and practice. If you want more control, then I have 9 and 12 week programs. The 9-week program, so the 6-week is like I walk my dog and go to the dog park. The 9-week program is I walk my dog, go to the dog park, and go to restaurants. And like the 12-week program is a completely off leash. I go hiking, I go to the dog beach, I go to restaurants, I go to the dog park, I do everything with my dog. I go to my office, right? I do everything. So that's the 12-week program. The variable with those programs is I'm looking at this and when I'm hearing, and I'm going, I don't think the behavior is going to be that much, right? Time. Because it's really about education and how do we handle it, and the e-collar is the most effective tool. So I already know that part's going to be easy, okay? is for whatever reason, let's say the behavior part of it took 4 classes, it's going to affect how much obedience we get. So if we did the 6 classes, we definitely get the heel because that has to happen. But then if we spend 4 on the behavior, and then you're like, hey, I'm happy with what I got, we never go to the
I think, what are the classes? One-on-one, or
yeah, it's
when
just
I drop
you
the
and
dog
me.
off, or it's you and I and the
Correct.
dog?
Now I do board and train stuff and everything, but in this case, you want to do the work. Okay, because behavior, if it was just obedience, I would say sure you could drop the dog off, for a daycare trainer or board and train, because it's superficial. It's just teaching the dog skills. But this is not just teaching the dog skills. It's teaching you how do I handle an overstimulated, frustrated dog, right?
Part of it could be like she's gonna start physical therapy too. Like the pins that are in her, like I think she might be frustrated with that too.
I was thinking about that too with her injury, but I don't think so. But it could always be a possible factor.
I wonder if the e-collar would help have her stop licking it too.
Yes, you can correct me for that.
Okay. Will you be able to show me how to use it today? Or
I can give you so with the consultation, I don't touch the dog. Like I don't, do any training. It's really just getting a feel and giving you the idea. But when it comes to stopping the behavior, all you would do is just when she's licking her paw, you find a number that stops her from licking her paw. Right?
I don't even know how it works. I just turn them both on and then.
Did you ever have to use it for your last dog?
Yeah, but I don't remember. It's so many years ago.
Oh.
It was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Sure. So
I could probably watch a YouTube on it.
I'm not sure. We actually have a video on how this, because I use Doctra, so I made like a tutorial on how to use a Doctra collar. But I think I did one for the educator as well, because we had a few people as an educator.
Okay.
But the way consequence works is, have you ever touched a hot stove?
Yeah. It's back, right?
Yeah. And would you do that again?
No.
Because it's an aversive, right? Same thing for me growing up. I said if I talk back to my mom, I would get spanked. That was an aversive to stop me from talking back to her, right? Same thing for the dog. So if she's licking her paw and you remote her on 15 out of 100, and she stops licking her paw and like takes a nap, that look, 15 stop her from licking her paw. Because you're not trying to teach her to do anything. You just want her to not lick the paw, right? So then once you turn this on, I wouldn't be at 100, but like, I would start 10 to 15.
Okay.
And when you see her doing something you don't want, just simply back away.
So you're okay with me starting that before I get to the first obedience class?
Yeah, I mean for licking her paw stuff,
Yeah.
not for the frustration towards me.
Okay. What about like I want her off the bed?
That you have
Zap her?
to, I mean, technically yes, but you have to then tell her what to do, right? Because it's not get off the bed. I mean, it's not like you, how do you say? It's she has to get off the bed. She has to do something.
Right.
So teaching a dog not to do something is a symptom, is a simply consequence.
Right.
Don't do that. Teaching a dog to do something is different because you have to shape the behavior. So like shaping like the sit or the recall or the heel, like you have to, she's not meant to sit, heel, recall. It's not in her genetic code. But if she did something that another dog didn't want her to do, they would just bite her to stop the behavior. Okay, so it's just simply consequence. Okay, so that like licking her paw, I'm perfectly fine with because I'm not worried about that becoming worse. Okay, but like if like she charges someone at the office and you remote her, I wouldn't want you to potentially make that worse.
So you don't want me to start with that?
Not towards people.
Okay.
Right? Like I don't think she's aggressive, but I wouldn't want you to try to stop her and then make a problem worse that
Okay.
involves another person.
Okay.
Right? But if it's just like, hey, don't lick your paw, like that I don't care about.
So right now, until we get this going in the interim at the office, I either like have her in the crate and she kind of like chills out and relaxes there, or she's up at the receptionist desk, like kind of tied to the desk.
Sure.
And just
Yeah. And like let's say she's in the crate and people come in and she starts barking.
Yeah, she knows.
That you can correct with that.
Oh, I can.
Because she's in the crate.
Yeah, she's like about to bust out of the crate.
Yeah, like I'm not afraid are you going to go after someone because she's contained.
I just want you to calm the fuck down.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. So that's why I don't care. Like if it's something where it's not like let's say she was off leash here and she's eating goose poop, I would say don't correct her because there's a chance that she might run away.
Oh.
Okay. But if you're inside your home and she's chewing her paw, I don't care about that because where she can run away.
Right.
And if there's no, and she's not targeting the person, she's targeting her paw.
Okay.
So I'm not worried about that becoming worse.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the logic behind the corrections that I'm saying I'm okay with.
Okay.
Is as long as there's no one that's either in the risk of anything or there's no risk of her running away, I don't care.
Okay.
So if she was on the leash eating goose poop, I would say yeah, correct her because she's on a leash.
Yeah.
Where is she going to go? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Other questions?
No, those are the big ones. And my goal, I would, if you think it's possible, I would love to get to a point and like be able to bring her in the mornings when there's 100 dogs out here and let her play with the dogs and know that she'll come back to me and know that she's not going to get really aggressive with another dog.
Sure. So knowing something is different than knowing you have control over something. Okay, because you'll never know with the dog. Okay, because we're animals. Dogs don't think like humans do.
Or knowing I have the control if she looks like she's getting a little nippy, that I could get her to come right back to me.
Correct.
Because I've taken her here, and you know, some people are just a little more like protective of their dogs than others, and like even if she was just playing, because she's a Doberman, they're like, they're giving me that look, right? So I'm like, I want to pull my dog back, even though I know she's fine, but I didn't have the ability to catch her because she.
Correct. Yeah, I trained her as a Dobie. He's not here. Arkansas. On vacation. But I completely get it. Like I have a kitty, you know, so it's the same thing for me as well. She's a gladiator. But yeah, I trained a lot of dogs in this area. So if you ever see a dog with a collar on, chances are it's pretty cool.
Okay.
So, but yeah, like that stuff is simple. It's really just education and understanding dog behavior. And once you understand it, it's like, oh, okay, this is much simpler than I thought because of e-collar. As long as you have the appropriate e-collar for her, everything should be pretty straightforward. Okay. And like I said, I'm fine with working with this in the meantime. But if we find we hit like a kind of a wall where you're like, yeah, Jesse, I was over here in the kennel, she kept barking. And I was at like 85, 90, and she would stop. And I'm like, yeah, it only goes to 100. So you're probably going to want a higher power. Okay. It just means the output, the contraction is stronger. So it's more of a level of discomfort.
And with the training, can we do it here, or I have to go?
We can do it here.
Okay.
Just be, mindful that, sometimes the wind blows off of the lakefront.
Yeah, I don't care. It's just my schedule is like, this is so easy for me and for me to drive out anywhere outside of work.
Sure. The only thing, as long as the obedience stuff, yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be a problem. Like, I have clients that still meet here. There's just like 2 of them. Most all my clients go meet me in my facility in Logan Square because they'd rather be inside. But I don't mind meeting here. It's just people heard that they're going to be in the cold. And as long as she's fine in the cold, I don't care either. Okay? Other questions?
So if I sign up for X number of weeks, do we only meet once a week, or can I accelerate it and do like twice a week?
You want to do once a week.
Just once a week and then practice in between.
Correct. There's no benefit doing more than one in a week. And trust me, that's just more money faster for me. Yeah. But for you, it's not gonna. You need a week to make mistakes. You need a week to see what we're doing. Is it being effective? You're gonna need plenty of opportunities to have successes and failures. So a week is good. Typically, it's once a week at the same recurring time if you have a good, consistent schedule. Otherwise, if your schedule changes, just let Maria know, and then she'll just have to play it by ear. But if that's the case, I may not see you for like a week or 2 because our schedules just aren't lining up for that particular week. Okay. But it's pretty straightforward. And when it comes to stuff like this, time is in practice in between in that time frame is more beneficial.
As long as you tell me what I need to do in between, I'll do it. But
yeah, that's how the classes go. I coach you through everything. I teach you do all the hard work, okay? And then you go and you practice it, okay? And you apply it. And then once we hit class, 3, then we'll start really delving into the behavior stuff. If we're seeing it's not changing or if it's not having an effect on it, then I have to start to figure out okay, what am I going to change so that we can start getting her to start settling down at the office, which I already know up here. It's just I have to see how she progresses. Okay.
I'm just so glad to hear you don't think like it's aggression and that she got completely hurt.
No. I think it's frustration. Okay. Now, if all the wrong things happen at the right time, could she bite someone? Sure. But I say that like all the wrong things at the right time, right? Because that actually happened to a consultation I had yesterday. Dog's been, because of COVID, no one's been coming over. They had construction workers come over. She was holding the dog back on the leash, and then the dog escaped the leash, and then the guy had reached down, and then the dog took a bite the guy's hand. And I was like, yeah, like all that. I was like, that was like the perfect storm. Like all the wrong things at the right time, because the dog had never done it before. And the dog's like 3 years old. So if the dog was aggressive, they would have been like, yeah, for 3 years the dog's been trying to fight someone. But that wasn't the story. The story was since quarantine, blah 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 blah. Then this happened, and I go, yeah, makes a lot of sense.
So if between now and our first lesson, she's at the office and she jumps on one of these people again, can I zap her for that?
No.
No.
Remember,
You said
because
no.
I don't want you to potentially create
To make something worse.
Yeah. Now, what I
Shouldn't,
would do
right?
is just like have her in the kennel, or have her tethered so she can get to the person. Okay. Because then she can't act. As long as they stay out of her space, we don't have a problem. And you can still correct her for the barking, but now I'm not worried about, are we going to agitate her to the point where it's going to push her forward.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay.
Okay? But the other thing is, she could be too far gone, and then like you try to remote her, and then it would be crap. Right? But it hasn't been layered in yet.
Right.
So there's some complexity.
Okay.
Okay? But like I said, I don't think you have an aggressive dog. I think you have an overstimulated, frustrated dog. And then,
She's definitely been through a lot. You should see the height of my building when she jumped off. Like, she shouldn't be alive, really.
Anything else?
No.
And if you want to learn more, just go to my YouTube channel. You can see lesson 1s are great to watch because no one knows what they're doing except me. And you can see how it works. That Roddy I told you about, he's on there. His name's King. I got a lot of dogs that have overstimulation issues, probably the most common issue that I get, because it's usually it stems from lack of boundaries, which most people don't give a dog boundaries. So, and there's also some videos where I talk to them about like certain cases. I think it's a playlist, it's like client highlights or something like that. And you hear me break down and just talk about the psychology of e-collar and how I use it and stuff, and I give examples of the cases or whatever. So it just helps educate you more. And it shows you like, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's doing.
Check it out tomorrow. So when can I start? I'll have to call your office to schedule it.
Maria will reach out. She'll send you a training form, and then you'll talk to her about how long you want to do or whatever, and then she'll get you scheduled on the.
So you recommend at least 6 weeks?
Six is to fix your problem. Okay. And then so it's like heal 2 classes. What does that fix? What do you need to learn to handle all that stuff? Potentially 3 to 4 right there, and then if everything's going like I think it will, 5 and 6 can be on recall. Okay, so recall typically takes 2 classes, but then the recall takes the longest to teach. So don't think that she's going to be awfully reliable at the end of 6 classes. You just have everything you need to progress and get her to that point. Okay. 9 and 12 week is for more control, more obedience commands. Sit. So there's 6 formal commands: sit, stay down, place, heel. The really most important ones are, of course, recall and the heel command, and then the rest are kind of superficial. So if you want to know, oh yeah, I want complete obvious control my dog, then I'll say 12 classes. If you're like, yeah, I kind of just want in the middle, then you're 9 classes. And if you just want the answer to your problem, then that's 6 classes.
Can I decide as I go, or does the price go up if I don't?
So it's not the price goes up, but with the bundles, if someone says we're going to do 12 and we commit to 12, you get a lower per class rate.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. So if you do 6 and you decide to do another 6, you'd be paying the same
So if I
rate.
do 12, what kind of dog will I have when I'm done? If I work with her in between?
Pending the behavior, because remember that's the variable.
Yeah.
All 6 commands off leash trained. Okay.
Meaning I can come here.
Yeah. And all that stuff.
She's not going to lunge towards that shepherd and not come
correct.
back.
You can correct her and all that stuff and have her come back. The variable would be her behavior. So if you did 12 and for whatever reason, if that reactivity that you're seeing, took longer than I thought it was going to take to fix, that affects how much we get done with these guys. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the case here, but I always give that to people as a variable because it does happen every now and then where it's like I come in, I didn't think it would be that bad, and it's a shit show. And I come in, and sometimes I think it's going to be a shit show, and it's actually not going to happen.
Okay.
So unfortunately, there's no guarantee until we start the process, and then we're able to kind of okay, this is where we're at. Okay. And you can always do 6 now and then wait for the next 6. Let's say you pay for 12, and then you do the next 6 in the spring or summer, whatever. We have people doing that too, so because they want to get the discounted rate, but they don't want to be in the outside for the entire class or whatever. So they'll do that too. I personally don't care. Yeah. But if you do 6 and then another 6, you'd be paying that same rate. So you ultimately end up paying more. Okay.
All right, that sounds good. So yeah, if she can call me and
I call her. This month has been crazy with consultations. I usually get a lot of requests, and then a fraction of those will book, and then a fraction of those will actually do training. But pretty much every consultation is come through the book. So if it's a day or 2 before she gets back to you, don't get worried.
I feel like she might have tentatively saved the Saturday spots for me, but I could be wrong.
I'm
we
not
first
sure.
talked. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, and you can always just go whenever you get back to your office. You can also email her and say, "Hey, Maria, sign me up," and then she'll just start the process, and then she'll refer to me to in order to give you the information for what we think you need.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No, but I think I will. So you're saying it's fine. I can try and zap her at like 10 to 15 as she licks her paw.
Yeah. And then if that doesn't work, just go to 20, then 25, and 30 until she stops licking her paw. Okay? Because it simply don't do that. I don't care what else you do, but don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay? Anything else?
No.
So it was a pleasure, Jamie. If you have any questions, let us know. Like I said, feel free to go to our YouTube channel, watch your videos, because they're important.
It's on your website.
Yeah, you can go to my website. So any video you see on my website, actually on the home page, when you go to my website, that video is actually a good one to watch. If it's the one I'm thinking of, the dog's name is Lake. It's a pit bull. That's actually a really good video to watch.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right. So Maria will get in contact with you. If you need anything else, let us know. Otherwise, you have a good weekend. Okay.
Okay, you too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.